Oh boy, we are here. It is deadline day, and for goodness sake, I am joined by Jack Stroudley. How are you?
Hello, mate. Very happy to be here. I'll be honest with you, this morning when I woke up, I thought this deadline day stream was going to be completely boring with absolutely nothing to talk about. But in true fashion, Fulham have scattergunned for what seems like a million players. Obviously, one looks like it's through the door. There's another one where links are starting to pick up again, but it's a little bit late in the day. Obviously, I suppose the $1 million question: where the hell is Joe Sansom?
Yes. Sorry, I didn't mean for goodness sake that the fact you're here. I just meant for goodness sake, it's deadline day yet again. We're not joined by Joe tonight. Joe is in Paris. Paris being Paris. He's just a few hundred miles away from Shirky, trying to get him down to Craven Cottage. I won't lie to you, Jack. I've had a very busy day at work, so I've tried to keep on top of things as much as possible. Why don't you give us the lowdown on what's been going on?
So I have put together a nice, in my spare time, a nice little sheet of all of the ins and outs. Players look like they were leaving, players who have left. So we'll start with those. Obviously, everyone knew already. Luke Harris moved to Exeter earlier this month on loan. Ollie O'Neill to Leyton Orient on a permanent deal. That was already known. In terms of today, for deadline day, Tyrese Francois has moved to Danish club Velge Bold Club on loan. Chris Donnell has moved to Airdonians in the Scottish Second Division on loan. Idris Odeteo moved to Bromley on a permanent deal. I saw him quite a bit last year at Maidenhead, so it's a good move for both parties there. The only one probably worth discussing, which we can get into a little bit later on. About an hour ago, a Turkish journalist reported that Carlos Vinicius, Galatasaray have put in a loan offer for him with an option to buy, and Real Betis have also put in an offer. Maybe that's something to do with a certain Albanian who is coming in the door. In terms of the incomings, I'll just quickly run through who we've been linked with today, because there is a lot, obviously. It's Fulham, it's deadline day. Hugo Ekitike from PSG. He's now moved to Frankfurt with a 30 million obligation in the summer. Sebastian Haller, Fulham expressed an interest in him on loan last night. Dortmund were happy for him to be let go, but the Ivorian didn't want the deal. I believe he's still at AFCON. There was some very loose links to Willian Jose from Real Betis, who obviously was at Wolves previously, as well as Chuba Akpom. I think a lot of these signings were under the assumption that Armando Broja wasn't going to happen, which looks like it's going to happen. Obviously, it's not just up front that we were looking for. Marco Silva, has kind of previously hinted that we want to look at a few other options in terms of where we're going to, in terms of attacking options. Said Berrama, Fulham tried to hijack a loan move from Lyon. We offered a straight loan for West Ham. Lyon offered a 5 million loan fee with a 12 million option to buy. So he is now in France. Silas from Stuttgart, we offered a loan with a 15 million obligation. Silas wanted the move, but Stuttgart didn't want to sell. There were a couple of tweets about Andre, but they were just kind of rehashing old news. And then the other, one that's not, I suppose nothing's confirmed, but it's kind of sparked up in the last kind of 45 minutes. Rayan Shirky, we asked about a loan with an option in the summer, which was declined. It's been reported by some of the slightly less credible journalists that talks are back on, and that we're pushing hard for a loan deal. I suppose the big one to kind of start on, though, is Armando Broja, who looks to be on his way to Craven Cottage. Obviously, Chelsea originally, they seemed to want, that it was a 50 million fee that they wanted. Then it dropped down to 40 million obligation, 30 million obligation. Then they went, fine, you can have him on loan, but there's going to be an option. Fulham didn't want to give an option. Then they said, we want a 5 million loan fee. And Fulham said no. And then in the end, they just went, fine, have him. Just have him. So, there's a few different things going around in terms of how much the loan fee is. Somewhere between 750,000, but it can go north up to 4 million. depending on the amount of fixtures played. I mean, Jack, what are your thoughts on, Broja? He seems to be the one that's gonna, be over the line, I guess.
Yeah, it's looking that way. Armando Broja was obviously linked with not only us, but also Wolverhampton Wanderers, who are playing right now against Manchester United and 2-0 down. AC Milan were also interested as well. But he's picked Fulham, and I think that's the logical choice just based on the location. He probably won't even have to move house. Do you know what I mean? He's on loan at a different Premier League team, and he might live near Cobham. He might live near Motspur Park. I mean, it's quite a convenient move for him. It was a name that I actually brought up in a Jack and Joe show we did months ago, saying we should get him on a loan, and it's come to fruition. I had no sort of influence into that deal, but there are a lot of questions from. By the way, thank you so much for almost 200 people here watching. It's always very exciting on deadline day. We've had a lot of comments like, "Why do we leave it so late?" A lot of dart chat in the chat as well. I saw a comment saying something about I can't find it now. But yeah, Jack, it's been a bit of a mad day. So we've been linked with so many players on this one day. Marcus Silva's also had a press conference today previewing Burnley. We'll get into that a little bit later, the preview. We also played a game a couple of days ago against Everton, of which it was 0-0, so we don't have to spend too much time on it, although it was a very good game of football. A lot of people are not very happy with the way we've conducted ourselves in this window. I'm not sure that Marco Silva will be happy with the way we've conducted ourselves in this window. One concern for me is that we've let Andre completely go by the wayside, which means that more clubs are going to be interested in his service in the summer, and he'll have probably a pick of more teams. Another English team that were linked with Andre's services was Liverpool. And now, obviously, because Jurgen Klopp's leaving, I wonder whether, I don't know if he'll have any influence as to whether they'll still be interested in Andre or not come the summer. But I would like to think that Fulham will still be in the picture if we're obviously still in the Premier League and we have those finances to spend. But let's talk Broja. 1 goal for Chelsea this season. Guess who it came against?
I wonder. I also remember in that game him missing an absolute sitter.
Yes.
When it was an open goal and he completely blazed it over. In terms of Broja, I mean, I've put together a little article on the Fulhamish website talking a little bit about, is he kind of the answer to our goal scoring woes? I don't know. Is the answer, to be perfectly honest with you? I'm not overly convinced by Armando Broja. He's a striker who I think has been a little bit unlucky. Had a good loan spell at Vitesse, then as a 19-year-old went to Southampton on loan under Ralph Hasenhüttl. Had a decent season, 6 goals I think. Then he had that horrible cruciate ligament injury, and has really kind of struggled to find his feet. Obviously playing a little bit now under, for Chelsea under Mauricio Pochettino, in a side that are creating quite a few chances and who, some potential arguments, is their league position false? Maybe they could be a couple of positions higher if they've got someone who's going to put the ball in the back of the net. And, Broja's been given enough opportunities in a Chelsea shirt, and he just seems to struggle to be clinical and put the ball in the back of the net. I suppose the one positive is it's a pretty low fee in terms of a loan. There's no option, there's no obligation. So if it does go wrong, you can kind of move on. It's very much it's another stopgap though, which is a little bit frustrating. But given the current climate, the January transfer market is normally quite difficult to secure long-term solutions. It's not the worst piece of business in the world in terms of when you consider Raul Jimenez is obviously out injured, and you've got Carlos Vinicius and Rodrigo Muniz, neither of which I'd really want to start up front in a Premier League game.
Yeah, I can understand that. I should probably put my phone away and pay attention to what's going on. I'm sorry, my head is spinning. Jesse Lingard's on his way to, I think, a Japanese team, and I've completely got carried away with reading that. It's been a frustrating window. I think Marco Silva's made that pretty clear. And obviously the fans are frustrated. There's been a lot of stuff that's gone on, especially this month, that's frustrated a lot of people, understandably. But ultimately, we're a team that's... Oh, sorry, was it a Korean team? I apologize. From a point of view where Marco Silva made it point in the summer that we can't stand still. We've got to progress. And this was going back from last season where we were, the deadline's 11 o'clock tonight. Sorry, he made the point that we needed to not stand still. We needed to invest in the squad, and of course we did. And it's quite difficult right now because we're in a bit of a rut right now where the fans aren't very happy. But also, like, if we'd have had Calvin Bassey and Alex Iwobi and maybe even Ballo Toure in this period, I think we would have got more results. I think the game against Everton was crying out for someone like Iwobi. I think the fans are getting very frustrated with Pereira right now. And I think that if Iwobi was occupying that position or even on the wing, even if Pereira was on the pitch, I think we'd have better output. And now, obviously, no Adama, no Wilson, no Diop, no hope as we go into Burnley. But we do have Broja and obviously no Jimenez, which is injured, who got injured. So maybe the injury to Jimenez did accelerate the plans to sign a new striker, Joe. Jack.
It's okay. It's all right, mate. It's all right.
I'm all over the shop today, honestly.
That's all right, mate. That's all right.
What are your thoughts, what was your thoughts after the Everton game when we had a few of those injuries? Wilson, Diop, and Jimenez. I think Wilson came off in the Newcastle game. They were scrambled into one.
Yeah.
When it comes to, no Adama. Yeah, that's always an inevitability. Joe, Joe's not here.
Yeah. Who's he? Yeah.
Sorry, Jack. Go on.
I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. I'll start in terms of, obviously you touched a little bit on the recruitment and Marco Silva not wanting to stand still. So I'll start with that point. And he was absolutely spot on in the summer. Obviously, it was a very difficult summer. We lost Mitrovic, we almost lost Willian, we almost lost Polinia, we almost lost Marco. So it was a very difficult summer in terms of planning kind of for the future. We had an okay summer. I was very sceptical about Alex Iwobi, ironically, on the last deadline day stream. And I've been proven wrong. I think he's a fantastic player. Calvin Bassey's come in. He's one for the future. Castagne's a good player. Who else have we signed? Jimenez has turned out to be all right as well. And I mean, we come into this window now in January, and Marco Silva's kind of talked a little bit about how the club aren't in a financial position to be spending loads of money. I think maybe based on some spending during that COVID period, the likes of when we signed Anthony Knockaert and Ivan Cavallero for ludicrous amounts of money. That's kind of maybe coming back to bite us at the moment. So, and I think that kind of makes sense when you look at as I was going through earlier, the people we've been linked with today. Every single person has been a loan with either an option, no option, or an obligation. The only player we've tried to sign on a permanent basis this window has been Andre, who there was reports a couple of days ago that an anonymous Premier League club put a bid in that was well under their valuation. So it's very frustrating, but I think that, we are kind of just, we're in a very difficult spot at this current moment in time. And I think that, as you mentioned, if we had Alex Iwobi, we'd be, sitting a little bit pretty, but, a bit of perspective, we've just got to a Carabao Cup semi-final. We're sat in mid-table. Like, we're doing okay. It's just the football isn't particularly exciting at the moment, and we're really struggling to put the ball in the back of the net.
Penalty to Wolves, I'm hearing and I'm seeing. But I must stress, I completely apologise. We wouldn't even be here without our sponsors, Green King Sport. Now, Green King Sport have sponsored us for the whole of this season on the Jack and Joe / Jack show, may I say. And we're very grateful for their support. Head down to a Green King Sport pub where you can watch all the Premier League action or EFL. I like watching EFL a lot. I think Jack likes watching EFL. Sorry, there's a bit of Fab tweet. As Fabrizio Romano tweeted.
Armando Broja has signed the contract as new Fulham player. Done and still.
Anyway, so for Green King, head down to a Green King pub and try some of their delicious craft beers on tap, off tap, behind the bar. The little bottles. You don't even have to drink at all. You could have a water, but go there and watch a game of football, and you'll be helping out Fulham by doing that as well. They have the Green King Sport app as well, where you can get deals, promotions, and like I said, it helps out Fulham as well. So Well, I'm a little bit behind here. I'm watching it through Discovery Plus. I'm not even watching it as such, but it doesn't look like a penalty is going to be given here, or maybe it is. I don't know. Jack, I would like for you to take the lead because my head is scrambled right now with all these transfers. Tell me your thoughts about that Swedish talent Lucas Bergvall, has picked Tottenham over Barcelona. Interesting.
There we go.
Burnley away on Saturday. Are you going to be there?
I'm not there, unfortunately,
Right.
due to train strikes, money, and whatnot. But I am quite jealous of people going up because Turf Moor, it's quite a good away day. The cricket club next to the ground, from my one visit there, I remember being absolutely fantastic.
It was great, wasn't it? Yeah.
Being really cheap. So I'm not there, unfortunately, but I am envious of those who are going. And I think it's a game that I didn't think that Everton was a must win, more of a don't lose, and the fans will be a little bit worried and skeptical if we do lose the game. But I do think that this Burnley game is a game that Fulham do have to win to ensure that we're keeping the teams below us at arm's length, and that they're not slowly picking up points. We saw Luton obviously win 4-0 against Brighton the other night. Crystal Palace picked up result as well. So teams around us are picking up points. So we need to ensure that we're doing the same. And I think that this Burnley game provides us with a really good opportunity to do so, playing a side who are really struggling at the moment under Vincent Kompany. And it's the type of game that we need really to kind of pick ourselves up and to get, maybe score a couple of goals, get ourselves back into the swing of things.
We need to score a goal, don't we? Yeah.
Yeah, back into score a goal, get us back into the swing of things against a really poor Burnley side. Obviously, they lost to Manchester City last night, but everyone loses at the Etihad, so I mean that's not necessarily a surprising thing. If you'd have offered me 4 points from Everton and Burnley, I mean, I would have taken it. I would have obviously preferred 6, but I think given the fact that the Everton performance wasn't poor, we played quite well in that game, and we were very unlucky not to score. Obviously, they had chances as well, but I mean, we had quite a few. We just couldn't put the ball into the back of the net. I mean, I suppose in terms of a lineup, in terms of obviously we've got quite a few players out. I mean, I'll go through what I think. I mean, I'd go Leno in goal, then the Castagna with Tosin and Ream, obviously because obviously Diop's out and Bassi's AFCON. Robinson, then I'd maybe switch things up a little bit in midfield, just because similarly to most of the fan base, I'm getting sick of Andreas Pereira in that midfield. The creativity is completely off. So I'd maybe go Palinha, Reed, and TC, just play 3 in midfield, slightly deeper, just to try and switch things up a little bit. And then in terms of the wingers, it's got to be Willian and Bobby Reed. Though we don't really have much of a choice, do we? Wilson's out and Adama's out and Iwobi's at AFCON. And then in terms of up front, I mean, assuming he signs, you would assume it's going to be Armando Broja.
Well, he's already signed, apparently. Fabrizio Romano said he's signed.
There you go. Surely it's going to be Armando Broja. It's not like he needs to gain fitness. He's played quite a bit for Chelsea. And I don't think that Marco Silva fully backs Vinicius or Muniz. It's just the fact of his hands have been tied for half a season and he just has to play them.
I don't think he trusts Vinicius because of the off-the-ball incidents where he could have been sent off on 3 different occasions this season. Muniz runs about and tries hard and actually probably should have scored against Everton. Jack Kelly, I think it's time for bed for you, mate, says Paul Fisher. Mate, I'm 25 years old. I don't have a bedtime. Anyway, change your name to Jack Telly because you're always staring at the screen. In fact, I'm staring at my phone because I'm trying to see what else is going on. I want to see if Shirky's getting any closer. But look. Burnley's going to be a tough game. They've only won 1 home game this season, I believe. And that was against... Oh, maybe I'm wrong. No, they have, haven't they? They've definitely won at home.
They beat Sheffield United. They beat Sheffield United.
Yeah, you fill up my senses. I just, I don't think this is the worst time to play them. Obviously, they beat us at the cottage, sorry, and I think that's obviously a disappointing result for us. 3-1. What's going on now? Who scored? Oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Yeah. So I think we'll go. Do you have a score prediction for Burnley?
I'm gonna go with. I'll go with a 2-1 win to Fulham. I think Fulham will win. I don't think it will maybe necessarily be the most convincing performance in the world, but I really don't back Burnley too much, and I think that we showed enough attacking quality in that game against Everton that we can put the ball in the back of the net, and if we do have someone up front, maybe like Broja, who's I don't know. I think I'm clutching at straws a little bit. To be perfectly honest with you, we haven't scored in God knows how long. But I'll go 2-1 to Fulham. I'll go 2-1 to Fulham. But if we did draw, I wouldn't be surprised. But I think it's a game that Fulham need to win to keep those teams below us and to ensure that there's a comfortable enough gap still.
A lot of people saying 0-0. Sorry, Red says feel like Burnley Fulham is a 0-0. Yeah, I was actually going to say 0-0, but I do fancy us. I think the last time we played Burnley at Turf Moor, was it Ola Aina scored? It was an own goal, and then we gave away a really poor goal just after we'd scored in that horrible lockdown season. And then obviously Burnley were the team who relegated us that season. Not only that, they knocked us out the FA Cup as well. And obviously we're out the FA Cup now. We're out the Carabao Cup. We have just the Premier League to go. But also, we've already played Chelsea twice, which means Armando Broja is basically available for every game we play for the rest of the season now. So that will... Wait. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So actually, maybe it was a blessing in disguise that we didn't get to the Carabao Cup final because Broja wouldn't have been able to play and Jimenez might have still been injured. So, look, everything happens for a reason. But also, I would have liked to have gone to Wembley.
I would have taken going to Wembley if it meant that you were up front, let alone any of our starting lineup.
If I was up front, I would not be able to do anything. I think Badiashile and Disasi would be made to look incredible against me.
Your Sofa score rating would certainly be one for the ages.
Oh dear. Right. It is deadline day. Let's not forget that. We've been linked with about 5 or 6 players today. Wi-Fi's dropping out. I apologise.
I think Jack's Wi-Fi might be going.
I don't know what's going on with all. Yeah, no, I'm still here, but yeah, it's poor.
You're back, mate.
Just keep it going.
You're all good.
We're
mate.
back.
You're all good. You're back. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something going wrong with this Wi-Fi in the last few days, and we've been trying to get to the root cause of it. But I think it's just the fact that there's too many people in the house using a number of devices at one time. Blame Matthew for playing Foot Champs all weekend, basically. Jack, what is there to look forward to for the rest of the season? And I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm asking genuinely.
I'm honestly, without trying to sound too negative, I genuinely couldn't tell you, to be perfectly honest with you. It's so incredible what a few weeks can do at a football club. This time a month ago. Yeah, well, we'll say this time a month ago, it was the first of January. We had Rotherham at home in the cup where we were like, well, we should win that. We're through to the 4th round. Then you've got the 2 Carabao Cup semi-finals. You've got Chelsea away. There's the optimism. Marco Silva's been handed a contract under certain promises that we're going to sign players. That's obviously not happened. And it's all kind of really gone horribly wrong over this last month, to be honest with you. Not getting through to the final, losing to Chelsea, an inability to score goals out of the FA Cup, not signing players on a permanent basis. In terms of what's there to look forward to between now and the end of the season, it's literally just staying up. We've got to ensure that we don't let this, we don't get complacent. We're not there yet. We still need a few more wins. And, the game like Burnley on the weekend is a game that we have to win. I suppose if there's a specific moment that, to look forward to, I suppose maybe Brentford away, but we always lose to Brentford. And Ivan Toney's back and he's inevitably going to score the winner. And it'll be a last hurrah at the Legoland Stadium before he makes a big move to Arsenal. So I guess maybe that. In terms of from an away perspective, who have we got? We've still got a couple of decent aways. Forest's on a Tuesday night, which is, that might be fun. Probably not, because it's a Tuesday. Sheffield's normally a good laugh, so maybe that doesn't get moved. But I think it's important to take a little bit of perspective. We've kind of flip-flopped between divisions for quite some time now. So the fact that we're sat here in February going, oh, this season's boring now, we might just only stay up. Like, that's but that's completely fine. Like, if you'd have offered a Carabao Cup semi-final and mid-table, it's like you'd have absolutely taken someone's arm off that, especially given the fact that we sold Mitrovic and didn't replace him. And I think that's a big testament to Marco Silva and the work that he is continually able to do with a squad that's aging. Hold the phone. Why is your hand in the air? Has something happened?
No, we just got a wicket. No, I'm only joking. There has been not a huge update, but Mike McGrath is pretty on it. Thanks to Billy Gray for pointing this out. I actually just saw it, but I just read over it because the image on the article is just someone signing a contract. So anyway, he said Fulham are working on one other deal ahead of the deadline, with Broja agreed. They are seeing if a deal can be struck for Lyon's Ryan Cherki. The French club have signed Said Benrahma and may agree to a Cherki moving.
There we go. Well, I think that I'll talk a little bit about Ryan Cherki. I think that as a player, he's very exciting. He's a young prospect that's got a lot of people kind of talking. He's playing for a Lyon side at the moment, which are struggling. Doesn't necessarily reflect his ability as a player. He looks like a really good player from what I've seen, online and whatnot. I can't claim to be the biggest Ligue 1 fan, but I've seen a few games and he looks okay in the games I've seen. A loan with I assume a loan with an option. That's what we tried to, get earlier, which was declined. But talks appear to be back on now that Said Benrahma has made the move. He's an attacking player who can play out on the left, but can also play in the middle as well in that Andreas Pereira position, which is, a player, as what I've kind of touched on earlier, that fans are, a little bit kind of getting frustrated with his performances. So I think bringing someone in those attacking areas would be fantastic. Obviously, we've only got an hour to go until the deadline. So if it does happen, you'd imagine it's going to be a deal sheet and then an announcement at like 1 a.m. if it does happen.
It does scream deal sheet, doesn't it? Because we're an hour away from the deadline. All I know about Cherki is from when I play FIFA, and this was back in like FIFA 18, 19, when he was like a 16-year-old kid. You click on his profile and he's an exciting prospect. So that's how you know he's an exciting. And I've signed him on career mode a few times. Means nothing, obviously, in the world of football, but I would like to quickly share with you a story. I know it's like deadline. Don't worry, it's got something to do with Fulham. I'd like to shout out a wonderful, wonderful Fulham fan who I met the other day. His name is Stuart Roberts. Now, Stuart has been going to Fulham since the 60s. He's been through it all. He's seen the worst of the worst. He's seen the highs of the highs, the best of the best. I was speaking to Stuart in the Golden Lion just before the game against Everton. And he came up to me and he said, he enjoys the podcast. He enjoys the Jack and Jack show. And I was like, oh, thanks very much. And he told me, Stuart, that he comes all the way from, I think it was Shropshire. He goes all the way from Shropshire to support Fulham. And that's home and away as well. I mean, that is some effort. And I tell you what, he's a Fulham fan living in Shropshire. I think it's amazing, the amount of miles he has to cover just to go to a home game. Anyway, now Stuart was telling me that he has a father called Peter Roberts. Now, Peter is 93 years old. 93 years old, going on 94. His last Fulham game was the playoff final in 2018 against Aston Villa. Of course, that wonderful day out where we won 1-0. Now, Peter is visually impaired, and he therefore can't see, but uses his ears to listen to Fulhamish. and to all the other Fulham great outlets that there are out there. And he said that it's what gets him through each day by listening and keeping up to date with what's going on with Fulham. And at 93 years old, to be in tune with what's going on at Fulham, I wonder what his thoughts are of Rodrigo Muniz and Carlos Vinicius, and what he would think about having Broja join the club. I just want to give a shout out to Peter and say thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being part of the community. Thank you for Stuart for introducing me to his story. And also a huge shout out to his son, James Roberts, who I met at the Golden Line as well. Very nice. And a fourth generation of Fulham fans in the Roberts family, Lucas Roberts. And hopefully he was saying that one of his friends is a Chelsea supporter and they're trying to talk him round. Keep working hard because you don't want to be supporting Chelsea. You'll want to be supporting Fulham, and a former Chelsea player or a Chelsea player is joining Fulham today in Armando Broja. And I'm delighted to say, after that very heartwarming story, that we are joined by Farrell Monk, who is going to join us for part of this stream. Farrell, happy deadline day. I've added you in. Oh, and I now need to then make it so that there's 3 people. There we go. Farrell, how are you?
Let me in from the outside. Let me in. I want to come in.
I was really confused for a second. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. At least, I'm not exactly coming in and there's like a lot to talk about. So, I'm just going to come in and say hello and try and alleviate probably some of the little boredom. Although I did miss that fun story or lovely story. I'll have to catch up with you about that some other time. I'm not asking you to regale it straight away, but how's it been? As I haven't been on Twitter since the big transfer news of the day, Lewis Hamilton moving to Ferrari for 2025. That's the biggest. I have been absolutely glued to that one all day, but I haven't seen anything else apart from the Broja one. Apart from that, is there anything else that's on? Anything else that's been cooking?
I suppose we've been linked with a number of players. Hugo Ekitike was like the second choice to Broja. He was the option. We were linked with a winger from Stuttgart whose name Silas.
Silas, yeah.
I seem to remember seeing him on FIFA a few times.
I've actually seen Silas play.
Oh yes, you're a fan of Bundesliga, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I actually randomly got a ticket when I was over in February last year because I'm a part Cologne fan up the Billy Goats, and I managed to get a ticket for Stuttgart away, and I saw them get absolutely stuffed 3-0. And the funny thing about it was Silas was probably the worst player in a team that won 3-0. So he was very much a player who decided to dribble into the opposition defenders time and time again. So I think he's actually already made replacement for Muniz, if anything.
It's been one of those days, isn't it, where a lot of names or a few names have been linked, because I think that it was evident we needed a player, especially after the Everton game where we picked up a couple more injuries. And it looks like we do have some money to spend, because it was maybe touch and go because of certain teams, certain Premier League teams especially, being very careful about what they spend because of implications that have happened to Everton and may happen again to Everton, and not only Everton, but Nottingham Forest as well. So, sorry if my Wi-Fi goes down for a bit. Jack, do you want to take over and fill Farrell in what else happened?
Yeah, I suppose the only
is someone ringing the landline or something.
Someone's doing something.
I suppose the only other bit of news about 10 minutes ago, we've been linked to a guy from Lyon called Rayan Cherki kind of over the course of the day. Guy from the Telegraph has said that Fulham are working on another deal ahead of the deadline with Broja agreed. They are seeing if a deal could be struck with Lyon's Rayan Cherki. French club have signed Sohaib Benrahma and may agree to Cherki moving. Earlier on, we put in a loan bid for him with an option to buy in the summer, which got rejected. I think purely down to the fact that they didn't have enough kind of squad depth and whatnot. But obviously, they've signed Benrahma and are happy to move someone on. So, I mean, from what I've seen of him, he's quite a good player, can play out on the left or in the middle. And it's just added depth in areas that are really thin at this moment in time. So,
yeah, definitely. I mean, we could all go into this thinking, I mean, no, there's no real other position that we're really desperately signing. Yes, you can argue a couple of other smaller other positions, but we're looking, you're looking at sort of fringe players, another sort of DM to back up Paulinho, for example, those sorts of things. But yeah, it's all attacking talent that we need through the door, and pretty soon as I think, wasn't it that Fulham have failed to score in 10 games this year? I think we're at the bottom in that regard. So yeah, it's attacking talent that we need, especially now that Jimenez might be out for a few weeks and Wilson's now injured. I don't know how long he's out for, and Adama Traore is still out as well. Yeah, it's the attacking talent we need. I mean, the players that we've been linked to, usually it's sort of, well, maybe they can do a job, but some of these players are actually pretty good. I'm not overly impressed with Broja. I don't think he's going to come in and immediately, solve all our problems and clear off all our debts and pay off all our mortgages and whatnot. But I think that he's definitely better than Muniz and Vinicius, that's for sure, and has got the necessary talent to play, unfortunately for Chelsea. You don't do that by accident.
To be fair, I mean, we're talking about a Premier League striker here who I can't believe Chelsea quoted 50 million for him. I think if a backup striker who produces, I can't remember what his numbers were, but it was like, I think he scored like 2 or 3 goals for Chelsea over the last year or so.
He scored 2, I'm pretty sure, and one of them was against Fulham.
You can't then say he's worth 50 million. I don't want to like be negative about. I'm excited. I'm glad we're getting in a striker, another option. I think he'll thrive in our system. But I'm more having a go at Walham Green for their price tag on Broja.
I just think a lot of it is just postulation, really. It's just all sort of like, it's a negotiation. Yeah. A lot of it is, half of it is sort of just stuff that's taken on in the public eye. But what actually goes on behind closed doors is probably something very different. With a lot of these negotiations, they say, get in early, get the first offer on the table, anchor that to that. People always remember that 50 million, but it'll probably, they've probably already figured out what value they actually see Broja at, and it's probably at 20 million or a bit less than that.
There has been Alan Nixon is someone who I used to follow quite closely, but he's got me on strings tonight. I'll tell you why. Because Fulham Brooklyn tweeted him, he replied to one of his tweets saying, "Reckon Shirky thing happens out, lad. I'm in true Fulham fashion, must be down to the wire." And Alan has quote tweeted it with, "Put it this way, ... I'm staying up late," laughing emoji. Has my Wi-Fi gone or something?
And he's got no. We got the end of that, but I'll get it up in a second. Hang on, just to fill everyone in.
Go on. I'll send it into the chat.
No. Have I got it here? Sorry. Yeah, I've got it here. So I mean, I don't know how much came through. A guy called FSC Brooklyn tweeted Alan Nixon saying, "Reckon Shirky thing happens in true Fulham fashion, must be down to the wire." He has quote tweeted this with, "Put it this way, ... I'm staying up late." So whether there's any truth to it or not is another thing, but it would be very, very Fulham if we put a deal sheet in and then announce someone at 1:12 a.m. tomorrow.
Should we do a sweepstake on what time the latest announcement would be?
I remember Ballo-Touré being really late in the August/September for this year. I remember that one being stupidly late as well. Yeah. We stopped.
Everyone put in chat what you think the latest time will be. We'll try and message. We'll try and message the person who gets closest.
Of course. Sorry. Is this a deal that we're looking to do that's permanent, or is it a loan with an option?
Loan with an option. Every player that we've tried to sign today has been a loan with either an option, an obligation, or in Broja's case, nothing. So maybe, as I said, maybe there is some truth to Marco going out on public and saying that the money isn't necessarily there if we're so kind of, as I kind of touched on earlier, the only player this month who we seem to have put any kind of bid in for is Andre, which was well below what Fluminense had valued him at. So it looks like we're kind of throwing everything at the wall and hoping something will stick. And we've got one. There might be two.
The old Sunderland model.
I'm trying to see if I see. Is this a new?
There's been a 6th goal at Molineux. It's 3-3.
Oh wow!
Heck.
That passed me by.
Wait,
I'm liking Fulham
on my
FC's
screen.
4-2-3-1 1 p.m. That's a really good one.
I have
1 p.m. Nick.
I have more news. I have more news on outgoings from a Turkish journalist. Galatasaray have reached an agreement in principle with Fulham with the 28-year-old striker Carlos Vinicius. Galatasaray had already put in a loan with an option to buy. So I would assume that now that Broja is in, that has facilitated one of the 4 going out.
Is there anything else happening in the Premier League? Because is it actually going to be the case that the biggest news story will be come tomorrow when we all wake up, that it'll just be the front page at the end of the transfer window? Broja moves to Fulham, Vinicius moves to Turkey, and that's it.
I'm trying to think if anything else has happened. Crystal Palace signed someone from Blackburn, I'm pretty sure, earlier on. But I mean, I don't know whether that's a backstory.
A huge sign.
Yeah, Adam Moore. Yeah, that happened. I know Bournemouth are after. Is it Unal, the striker at Getafe? I saw that. But it's been a very quiet window. So I wouldn't be surprised if Broja was back page news.
I can't believe how many men they've put forward. Manchester United. They had a corner, 3-2 up, and they just committed everyone forward. And Wolves just pounced and scored. Like, what are they doing?
How long to go?
Excuse me. Oh, it's 4-3. It's 4-3 to United.
What?
Oh, deal.
Guys, turn the stream off. Go watch the game.
Apparently Copy Mainu's just scored. No, I've got to keep one eye on it because of work. So,
I
can't believe they've won it. What's going on? Back to proceed. Jack, do you mind sending me that Vinicius tweet? I haven't seen it just yet.
Yeah, of course.
Wait, he beats one. He beats 2. That's an insane goal.
Are we on the Mark Goldbridge stream?
One for the future.
The United stand has turned up.
Yeah.
Mark Goldbridge. Right. Farrell, what is your opinion on Everton at home looking ahead to Burnley?
I mean, I think a lot has been said on the podcast yesterday or this morning about it. It's just indicative of where Fulham are at the moment. We're very, very pretty once we get to the box, and then it's just almost trying to ham fist it into the back of the net. Nothing seems to want to go in. I don't think I've got anything more to add than probably what a lot of other people think. I think we've got some of the best approach play in the Premier League going forward, especially when you've got people like Willian and TC linking up together better than like a string of sausages. But looking ahead to Burnley, I do fear with the fact that when in the reverse fixture, Burnley did take us apart somewhat with their passing. I thought some of their approach play was, better than ours on the day. And at the time, they were bottom of the league. They finally got up to the pace of the Premier League and whatnot, and they have picked up a couple of wins here and there. They are slightly, they haven't got the wins. They haven't got the wins that probably that they might have deserved. And I do think they'll give us a very, very good game. I think it just depends upon, whether Fulham can actually score at the weekend. I think if Fulham get the first goal, I think that we'll go on and win that game. I think that if Burnley score, it will be very difficult for us to get back into it because of the way they play their football, really. And that's more of a credit to them rather than, them sitting back or anything like that. But yeah, I think HR has probably got the right thing. I think 2-2. I think a high scoring game might be on the cards. I think basically it's just one of those ones where, we've been absolutely stifled for goals recently and it's just going to explode. Well, at least it would. At least it'll be entertaining.
Yeah, when you said HR, I was like, where on earth are you going with this? But it's someone's full username in the chat. 256 people watching live. Amazing.
Hello, friends.
Sorry, honestly, my internet's really playing up, so you guys can
Okay.
just take the lead with this.
No, Jack, what do you think? What do you think for
Saturday?
Jack Stroudley? What do you think for Saturday?
I think that I didn't think that Everton was a must win. I think it was more of a case of just don't lose and allow a team below us to gain 3 points on us. And I think that we showed enough in that game while not being able to put the ball in the back of the net that we were good value and that, we can kind of turn this kind of rut of not being able to put the ball in the back of the net around. I think that the Burnley game is going to be a slightly, a different one. Obviously, they're in a real, tricky run. They're really struggling to acclimatise to the Premier League, obviously, barring, ironically, that game at Craven Cottage just before Christmas. And I think it's the kind of game that Fulham, could turn up for. Obviously, we've got quite a few injuries out at the moment, and I'll be very intrigued as to whether Armando Broja would come straight into the starting lineup. I personally think he probably would, just because I'm not entirely sure that, obviously Vinicius appears to be on his way to Galatasaray, going off of, Turkish reports. And then he's got Rodrigo Muniz, and it's whether a case of does Marco Silva actually trust Rodrigo Muniz, or is he literally just the best of a bad bunch in terms of his options off the bench? And you could bring in someone like Armando Broja, who, while it isn't necessarily working out for him at the moment, is obviously there's no doubt that he does have Premier League quality. He showed it at Southampton a few years ago before that cruciate ligament injury. And I think it's a game that Fulham, as it's kind of similar with every Fulham game, whoever scores first seems to go on and win. And I do think it's the kind of game that Fulham can grow confidence in, and 3 points at Turf Moor just to kind of keep teams at arm's length.
Yeah, I think. What was I going to say? Just going back to the Muniz Vinicius thing about Muniz, is he putting him in because he's done enough? Like, it does feel like he's got second in the pecking order because how badly Vinicius is playing, not that he's actually earned that place. I do think that Muniz did pretty okay the last couple of games that he's featured. He probably, was unlucky not to score against Newcastle, if I'm honest. It was a good save. But yeah, you need someone who's ready-made to come in at this level. We just don't have time to bed someone in. I do think that Marco will probably still start Munoz on Sunday. I think that just comes with, it's not necessarily what I would do, but I just think that's what Marco usually does. He likes to sort of ease people into the team because he is such a tactical perfectionist. Question back to you. What, if you could pick any player, Fulham history, that you've seen to slot into this team, who would you pick for the rest of the season?
Oh, that's a question. And Gary Neville's turned up, it's by the sounds of things.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah. Oh, I didn't know if my internet was still working.
No.
Ooh.
Look, being live means that things go wrong. We've done it plenty of times to know that things do go wrong.
Yeah. Don't work with animals for kids, and I'm working with some kids now. Sorry.
We're going to say animals. It's going to be like, what? I would say Moussa Dembele the first. Imagine him with Jay Pally and Rico.
Oh, he's gone. But I think
gone.
We got the answer. The answer was Moussa Dembele in midfield. Without trying to sound too boring, and I kind of tend to agree, to be perfectly honest with you. I think that, we lack in creativity in that midfield department. He would just be absolutely fantastic for. I suppose the other option at this current moment would be a goal scorer, and I can't bring myself to quite bring.
Don't say the name.
I can't bring myself to quite bring a certain Serbian back in.
Lukic, he's already still in the squad.
I guess I'd maybe go look at someone like Clint Dempsey or Brian McBride, just as look to try and put the ball in the back of the net. Obviously, we've just signed Armando Broja, so that's not ideal. We've signed someone, and I'd bring someone else straight in to kick him out, basically. Maybe a winger as well, but someone of an attacking ilk. Louis Zaha's will have a great shout. A couple of people are saying in the chat.
Sahar was the one that was going to come. Was the one that I was going to go for. He had everything in his locker, and he would absolutely gobble up goals in this team. That's for sure. But Sahar when he was fit again in the Chris Coleman first half of the season, not in those first couple of years when he was injury prone.
If you just cast your mind back, and if my Wi-Fi holds out, I'll very briefly explain. I would actually have, and obviously Dembele is the obvious choice, but thinking about Jay Pallinia, TC, and then in the central attacking midfield role, 12-13, Irby Emmanuelson.
Wow, what a rogue shout.
That is rogue.
Nice.
That is so rogue.
He was saucy as a player.
You could have given me about 50 guesses. I would not have said Irby Emmanuelson. No. I completely forgot you were playing for Fulham.
Did see Irby Emmanuelson score away at Swansea, his probably crowning achievement in all of his career in football.
Farrell, before we move on, is there any final words from yourself?
No, I would say this is just another one of those. It just feels like we're in Groundhog Day again, isn't it? Another transfer window, another time the manager has come out and derided, or at least, read between the lines, has sort of derided the transfer policies and procedures of the club, if we can call it that. And I mean, to be honest, I did say this on a Fulham WhatsApp group of some friends, that and this was before Jimenez was injured, that considering no other team around us seems to be strengthening really around us, I don't mind the level of squad depth that we have all in all. Mm-hmm. Considering that not many other teams are actually sort of improving their squads, and I actually think we've got enough quality to stay up by itself. Mm-hmm. But considering everything that's gone on, considering that guy who left last summer, considering the club have known since July 2023 the one position that we need to strengthen in, and there are people around, and they've done nothing about it. It just feels like here we go again, basically. But I'm pretty optimistic for the rest of the season, as long as players stay fit and Marco stays. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I agree, and I hate to disappoint, but Alan Nixon has now confirmed that the deal with Shirky doesn't look like it's going to materialize. It can't be done, he said. So
I've changed my mind. It's a terrible transfer window. Sack the board.
I've gone again, I think.
He's gone.
But yeah, it just proves to get the business done earlier and not leave it to the last day, really.
Yeah. I'm gonna shoot off now. I'm gonna shoot off now. It's been fun. Right. Are you sticking on?
Yes.
Are you staying on till 12? Is it 12?
Yeah,
if my Wi-Fi holds out.
We're here to 11.
Oh, okay.
11 or Jack's computer exploding, whatever comes first.
Stroudley, if it goes down, I'll be on standby.
Lovely.
I'll have a stern word with BT tomorrow. Thanks, Carol, for coming on, and take care. We'll see you very soon.
See you soon.
Yeah, cheers.
And then there were two again.
There were two.
Hey, that happened last time. Guys, we despite technical difficulties, BT, I will see you in the gates of hell, honestly. However, wait, are we with BT these days? Yeah, we are with BT. thank you so much for sticking with us. It hasn't been the most enthralling stream, but hopefully myself, Jack and Farrell have kept you company while you've watched either the darts or that magnificent game at Molineux that I'm going to have to sort out as well for work. So I'm going to have to... Jack, why don't you talk for a bit while I go and load up my laptop?
Go for it. Right. If anyone in the chat has any Fulham related questions, fire away. Anyone feeling Stansfield is the backup option in terms of, I mean, next season? I would say so. Yes, obviously, I'm very glad we haven't recalled him. To be perfectly honest with you, he's best suited playing regular Championship football, which he's going to get at Birmingham. If we're going to keep to this free striker rule, which Marco seems to be very keen on, then Stansfield will have a big part to play. Obviously, you'd imagine maybe Rodrigo Muniz will move on maybe in the summer, Raul Jimenez, and then you'll get another one in on top of that. So it'll be Jimenez, someone, and Stansfield, you'd imagine. Are we finished with Muniz? I mean, I've just kind of answered your question there. In terms of, obviously, he's going to feature for now. Obviously, Marco wants three strikers. Jimenez is out injured at the moment, so it's going to be between Muniz and Armando Broja at the moment. Once Jimenez is back, I think Muniz will drop to third in the pecking order, and then maybe be sold in the summer. There were a few rumours this month about him. Kenny or Timmy Chestnuts versus Burnley. I think you can make an argument for either, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't really know why Kenny Tete hasn't played as much, because I think that he is a fantastic fullback. He was brilliant for us last season. I'm not taking anything away from Castagna, because I think Castagna's overall normally drops 7 out of 10 in most games he plays. I think he's been very good. But I really would like to see Kenny Tete back in the side. But, I mean, Marco likes to kind of keep consistent with his teams. So I think he'll play Castagna. TC or Reed versus Burnley. I mean, I was saying this earlier. I would potentially start both. I'm getting very sick of Andreas Pereira, to be perfectly honest with you. And I think that the way that we are attacking at the moment is very stale. It's get the ball to either TC or, overload down the left with Willian and Robinson and hope one of those can create something. And we're really struggling to create in other areas of the pitch. And that's down to the fact that our number 10 isn't particularly doing much. So I'd maybe look to have Palinha and then sitting and then TC and Reed directly in front. So, just to kind of switch things up a little bit, and maybe look to kind of create in other areas. So TC instead of Andreas. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have TC necessarily in the 10. I don't necessarily think that TC is a 10 in Marco Silva's system because he doesn't press too much. I'd maybe just have two players slightly deeper. Reed can run around and press as he always does, and then TC can be the more creative of the two. What else has been said? If management had got new players organised for the start of the window, could we have still been in the Carabao and the FA Cups? Absolutely. We obviously the Liverpool 2 legs. I mean, we lost 3-2 on aggregate. I'm trying to remember that. It was 3-2 on aggregate. 2 of Liverpool's goals were deflections, and we had we in that second leg we had chances but kind of struggled. And you look at Fulham. During these games have been without Calvin Bassey and have been without Alex Iwobi. And if you had players there who, could come in to replace them, then absolutely, if Fulham would have, maybe organised some players at the start of the window, maybe not necessarily in that first leg against Liverpool, but if you'd have maybe in that second leg, you could have had some players available there. FA Cup as well, definitely. I mean, you look at the side we took out for the Newcastle game, everyone just looked knackered. Because it was a B team for the most part, and the players who featured against Liverpool were just absolutely knackered, and we were kind of doomed from the get-go. If we don't sign Shirky, will we sign him in the summer? I mean, I guess that's dependent upon how Said Benrahma's only on loan at Lyon, so it's kind of dependent how Said Benrahma does there. Shirky's a player who's kind of drawn a little bit of attention across Europe, so I imagine similarly to Andre, will have a few suitors in the summer. I'd maybe like to see us sign him. Obviously, Willian's been fantastic for Fulham, but how long can he keep this up for? Who knows, kind of thing. So, I mean, I would guess that Shirky would be that. think Tete will leave in the summer. I hope he doesn't, because I think Kenny Tete is unbelievable in terms of one-on-one defending. He's maybe one of the best I've seen in a Fulham shirt. I think he's fantastic at that. But I wouldn't blame him because he's not playing as much as he'd want to. And I think he's a player who deserves to play regular first-team football in the Premier League. And if he's not going to get that at Fulham, why would he stick around? I wouldn't blame him. TC said, Kenny's my favourite runner, but I had to say Castagna has earned his spot and Kenny hasn't been great since returning. Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, Castagna was pretty poor in that second leg against Liverpool. But, I mean, he, as I said, he's as a whole, he's normally dropped kind of 6, 7 out of 10. Tete's in his last year of his contract, of course he is. I forgot about that, which might sway him in terms of moving in the summer. What's the best one you can think of for Broja? Jack, Kelly, are you listening in or are you zoned out?
I'm here, but like it just keeps fucking up a little bit, the Wi-Fi.
That's all right, Dom. I do apologize. You're my mate. You'll get over the fact I can't think of a pun. I think that Fulham should bring back Jay Stansfield. I don't necessarily agree because we've got 3 strikers now. And he's not going to feature at all. Whereas if he plays for Birmingham, he can play most weeks, continue to develop, gain experience, and be a part of the squad next season when you would imagine, obviously, Broja will go back to Chelsea, and Muniz will probably be sold. Stansfield will be there, Jimenez will be there, and then maybe one other if we're going to stick with 3.
Update from Mike McGrath. Fulham and the Shirky deal won't go to the wire. Deal is off as it stands, according to sources. It's a case of, it's never too late, obviously, but it's a complicated deal. But again, it speaks to the fact that fans are going to get let down today because, you see a rumor and you see an exciting link, but it gets let down because we've run out of time. But let's not forget, we had a whole month to identify targets. And the fact we've gone for a wing, I'm glad we got a striker, of course, in Armando Broja, but the fact of the matter is, a winger was probably necessary, even another midfielder. If I'm being picky. However, I don't know whether we genuinely were concerned about what we can spend and what we can't spend. I suppose it's maybe a benefit that we haven't spent much in this window, so it gives us more leeway going into the summer, and also just points to the fact that we haven't spent, therefore we're on the right side of FFP, whatever. However, if we do want to get better and we do want to progress, we're going to have to spend money. So there's also 2 sides of the coin. Would you rather be conservative and sort of stay on the right side, or would you want to go a little bit more blasé and be more at risk? I'd have to go with the first option because we've seen the repercussions of Everton. We've seen the repercussions of potentially Nottingham Forest. That, of course, hasn't even come to fruition yet. But there is a point to be made here that, it's all well and good being on the right side, but also don't get fans excited by. I mean, it's not. I would say it is their fault, but also we as fans should just take rumours with a pinch of salt. Shirky sounded fun, but we've been here before, Jack. I can think of so many players we were really close to signing and just didn't on deadline day. But there we go.
Yeah, it's just the story of how Fulham do business, of leaving everything to the last minute. In terms of answering your question, in terms of which would you rather, in terms of being conservative or being a bit more proactive with your recruitment, I think there's a little bit of a balancing act, and I can understand that Fulham maybe aren't in a position to spend loads of money, but you've got 2 domestic loan spots. Obviously, Broja's come in today, but you've got 2 domestic loan spots. I don't understand why you wouldn't try to take advantage of another of those domestic loan spots to get a wide player in. I mean, I know I sat with you privately and joked about him, but there's a player in West Ham and Maxwell Cornet who doesn't really play. At least he's another option we can have out wide. You've got Emil Smith-Rowe who's not really playing for Arsenal, who could come into the 10 on a loan, and I'm sure there are plenty of other options who are kind of avoiding the top of my head right now who could come in and do a job, even if you're not able to spend that money. But, it seems to be at what point something's got to give. You can't just every single window do this because it's just not a sustainable way of running a football club and getting it to the highest level. Marco Silva is an unbelievable manager, and he's been our best manager in my opinion, to Roy Hodgson. And he's continually overachieving with a really, thin and aging squad and doing wonderful things with them. But he's not able to take the team to the level that he thinks it could go, because it could absolutely go higher if he's backed correctly. The problem is, if you can back him correctly, and he gets a move somewhere else, and they're willing to back him, you can't blame him for one. If he wanted to go, then you're in a really difficult position where you're trying to appoint a manager. Chances are you're probably not going to be able to get someone who's as talented as Marco Silva at getting the best out of certain individuals. And then the team really struggles, all because, you had an inability to back the original manager on a long-term basis to, continue to grow and develop the club. I get this FFP and you've got to ensure you're within the lines, but there's got to be as I said, use your domestic loan spot. Don't leave if you can loan all these.
Yeah, but it's easy to say that. I don't want to debate with you or anything. It's easy to say that, but also it's really Marco will obviously, he won't just get in a body for the sake of getting in a body. This is what he's been saying in his press conferences. It's got to be the right fit. It's got to be the right character. It's got to be the player that can fit the system. And maybe, I know you can pick out names like Smith Rowe can play in the 10, blah, blah, blah. I completely agree with you. But on the sense of the footballing side of things, sometimes it's easier said than done than sort of identifying a loan. If you think about the players we brought in on loan last season in Dan James, in Shane Duffy and Cedric Suarez, they all made sense. They all made sense because of the system. And whether you think they did well or not, obviously Duffy hardly got a minute and Cedric was okay, but Tete was the better right back. And it's got to be the right fit. And Broja, with the system that we play and the profile of striker he is and the other options we have up front, is the right fit. But yeah,
I suppose if on the flip side of that, I agree that they've got to be the right fit. But you look at today, if we're going to talk about the wide players, Fulham today have tried to sign Said Benrahma, Ryan Cherki, and Silas. Surely, you don't need to those three players. Whoever's in charge of the transfer, I don't even know who's in charge of transfers anymore. But whoever's in charge of the transfers hasn't just loaded up their laptop today for the first time and gone, right, I want him, and him. They're people that they would have thought about before. So why leave it? And I get you get better value, but especially for a loan, why would you not try even a couple of days ago so that you've got more time to negotiate? This Cherki deal, for example, looks like it maybe could have crossed the line if there was more time. If that deal would have began 2-3 days ago, we could be sat here talking about two players coming in instead of one, and Cherki being a very, very exciting player. So there's got to be a balance in that. You can't, we've been linked today to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 players. That's just that's absolutely ridiculous. You can't run a club like that. You've got to have some kind of long-term contingency planning, and you can't just wait until deadline day and go, right, I'm going to go for everyone and just hope. Which I'm sure there's more to it than that, but that's very cynical of me. But it does seem that way at times.
I think I'm going to be super positive right now, yeah, because I can sense the mood. Everyone's a little bit not too happy. Yeah, I mean, the latest comment, people aren't happy, but I'm going to be super positive right now. I'm going to say that Fulham will survive this season. I think we'll survive.
Yeah, okay. I think we'll stay up. We're not going to go down. I think we'll stay up.
And on that basis, we're going to have a big summer. This is obviously we said it last summer, it's a big summer, but this would have to be a huge summer for Fulham, where we will have to back Marco. He's just signed a contract, and they've gone to him, look, sign a contract, but we can't do much in January because of FFP. He'll say, okay, I'll work with what I've got now, but the assurances must be that next summer, the summer of 2024, will be the summer where we do not stand still, where we get rid of players who maybe are not fitting right now. Sorry, that's throwing me off. But we will back, and I think we'll have long-term targets. I think Andre is a long-term target. I think he's someone that maybe it was difficult because of financial constraints in January because we had a shorter window. But in the summer, if you just say, look, keep yourself fit, hold on, you'll get your move to hopefully the Premier League, that's a long-term target. And I think Fulham will have 2, 3, 4, 5 long-term targets. I'm going to... This is going to sound tough to take, but I trust the board. I trust the board to at least back Marco. Otherwise, there's no way Marco would have signed that contract. No way. No way. No way.
Yeah, I think you're right in terms of it. This summer, assuming that nothing's going to happen now, but this summer or next summer seems very kind of now or never for Marco Silva, and a lot of people are tired of the way that the club is being run in terms of transfers and whatnot. And I'm to be honest with you, I'm one of them, but I've kind of said my bit. I'm not gonna go any further, but Marco Silva, you would imagine, will allow the club one more summer where the books are a little bit more clear, where there's more finances at his disposal to hopefully get in the players that he wants. I'm just reading the question there, dude. To be honest, what makes you think it's going to be a big summer? I want this to be the case, but we also have no evidence that this is going to happen. I suppose the argument is we're a little bit... Marco Silva's come out in a few press conferences this month saying that Fulham are a little bit tight for money under financial constraints. I think that's why we've tried to loan a few players in rather than not spend. Whereas in the summer, we're going to have clear books. Obviously, we'll have the Mitrovic money to spend. And at that point, Fulham need to the owners need to trust Marco Silva, and they need to back him, because if they don't back him, he'll go. He'll walk. He'll absolutely go.
It's worth saying as well. That when I say a big summer, and I get your point, piece of kit, love the opposition, it's the same story every window. No, I get that. But I feel stupid because I feel naive. I feel like the Kook song, Naive, yeah? Like, we had so long to sort out Manuel Solomon, and we didn't. And we messed that up. We had so long to build a squad, and again, we were scrambling for deals in the summer. However, I'm not talking big summer where we go and spend 100 million again and blah, 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 blah. I'm talking shrewd deals that get done early. Because Marco has made the point again today. This should have been done at the beginning of the window. So I don't know what to feel. Like, I don't know how to feel about this whole window, because I was just under the impression that we had to wait until halfway through the month to find out if we could spend money. Just we're on the right side of FFP and profit and sustainability, blah, blah, blah. However, maybe I just don't know. Maybe it's just Marco just saying earlier being earlier in the window, not at the beginning of the window. I just feel as if Marco Silva is so strong-minded. He is quite stubborn as well. That if he's not happy, if he wasn't happy and he wasn't assured that he was going to get the players he wanted either in this window or next summer, he wouldn't have signed the contract. He would have let it run because he knows his stock's high. He would have got a job somewhere else, whether that be in England, whether that be in Saudi Arabia, whether that be in Europe. Do you think the club is up for sale? Are they looking for buyers? It can't be up for sale because the Riverside stand's not finished yet. It's not finished, Jack.
No, just one bit of news in terms of transfer stuff. No, it's nothing exciting. Like, don't get your hopes up. It's nothing exciting. It's been confirmed that in relation to the Armando Broja deal, if he starts 10 games for Fulham, Chelsea won't receive any loan fee.
Good.
So
starting every game.
So I mean, if he does start 10 games, that's a fantastic. Not fantastic. It depends how he does. But I mean, if we don't, I'm not paying too much on a deal. That's kind of fair enough. Positionally, what do we need in the summer in an ideal world? In my opinion, we need a striker, a winger, a DM, João Palhinha dependent, plus replacements for seeming outgoing such as Tosin and Teta. So a striker, a winger, a DM, a centre back, and a right back is what Dom thinks an ideal summer would be. Jack, do you have any, differences in that?
No, not really. I think it's ideal to have two. Sorry, I was just reading sorry, let me get it up on screen. Actually, it's an interesting positionally. Oh, sorry, that was the question, wasn't it? That was from FFC Dom. Excuse me. Yeah, so I can reference it. Okay, so what have we got now in terms of right?
So it's assuming it assumes that Tosin and Tete aren't going to sign new deals and they're going to be out the window.
Okay, yeah, because as it stands, we are going to lose those two. So it looked like we would need another right back, another centre back, probably another centre back as well.
Yeah,
Two centre back because of
Reed.
Jay, I also realised writing that a big summer could be replaced with players that leave. Yeah, of course. Like honestly, like this is what I'm saying. Like just the fundamentals of Joe Ryan. Whatever you're writing in the chat, you're distracting me completely. We need to replace Jay Pally if he goes. We need another new striker. We need a couple new wingers. There is a lot to do. There's a lot to do.
Maybe obviously as well. Ballatore will leave in the summer as well. So you need
left back, yeah, and even Robinson might
some depth. And Robinson, well, going Price has just lost going by Joe Ryan. In terms of the summer, I think assuming Tete goes, you need another right back. If Tosin goes, you need two centre backs. If Tosin doesn't go, you only need one because we're gonna have to replace Tim Ream at some point. Ballatore, maybe it's going to be quite a big summer. Obviously, if Palhinha goes, you probably need two in midfield. If Palhinha doesn't go, you probably need one. But then that's dependent upon if Sasha Lukic goes, because a lot of people aren't too keen on him. The future of Andreas Pereira, no one really knows too much about because there's been kind of slight murmurings about where is he going to go in the summer. Who knows on that one? In terms of our wide options, you've got Wilson, an aging Willian, Bobby Reed, and then Adama Traore, who's made of sandpaper or just whatever he's made of something very breakable. So you probably need another winger there, maybe another, and obviously Alex Iwobi's back. It's going to be a busy summer, whatever the case. And I don't necessarily know what kind of quantifies as a big summer, because ideally a big summer implies you're going to spend loads and get loads of players in. But all it seems that Fulham need to do is plug gaps, which I feel like Fulham have needed to do for the last two windows. But here we are. Any youth player to join the main team in the summer? Jay Stansfield's obviously the most obvious one. You've then got the likes of Martial Godot, who will probably go, you'd imagine will probably go back out on loan to the Championship somewhere.
This is the problem. This is the problem, Jack. Like with these players in Martial Godot and Jay Stansfield, like yes, Stansfield started Premier League games for us last season, like a couple of Premier League games for us, one I think. But I do wonder whether would they rather be playing top-end Championship on a permanent deal or sitting on a bench for a Premier League team coming off and playing in the Cups? I just feel as though Jay Stansfield, as much as I love him and like him and would like for him to flourish at Fulham, may be better off suited at a Championship club where he will play 40 to 46 games per season. He has a chance of getting promoted to the Premier League, and then he can play for that team, get in the Premier League. I think Stansfield's a great option, and to have him on a homegrown player on our books on the bench would be brilliant. However, there is top-end Championship teams who are interested in his services. I think Ipswich Town were really interested in bringing him if we'd have recalled him and then he goes on a permanent deal. I'm basically happy either way. I would rather he stayed at Fulham and did really well, but I'm happy that he is actually looking really good natural finisher. And then the other player who we talk about you've
got Godot,
Martial, yeah.
You've got Luke Harris who's out on loan, Diffuserol who will probably go back out on loan as well. Josh King as well. Josh King will probably get a loan move as well at some point. I think the only one who's likely to break into the team is Jay Stansfield. I think he will stay. I think he wants to try and prove himself at Fulham, especially when Marco Silva likes free strikers and he likes that. I mean, whether he likes to rotate or not, or whether he feels like he has to because he hasn't got a number 9 that he trusts at the moment is another thing. But you'd imagine that Stansfield will feature, at least some of next season. I do get what you mean though, because obviously Fulham are, trying to grow and become an established Premier League side. It makes it very difficult for a pathway for these, academy players to come in and really, make a name for themselves. You look at players in the past who have come through and performed and then been sold. They've all been when we were in the Championship. You look at Carvalho, you look at, Ryan Sessegnon, Patrick Roberts is another one as well. They're all players who have come through when we were in the Championship, been trusted with lots of minutes and then moved on elsewhere. Just looking at some comments here. If we loan Jared to Championship, promotion hopeful, and they get promoted, we could make money on him like Southampton/Newcastle did for us with Reed/Mitro. I mean, Harrison Reed, we didn't necessarily make too much. They didn't make too much money on Harrison Reed. I think we only signed him for about 6 million in the end. The Mitrovic one I can kind of get. I think as well, you don't have to understand that in that example, if he went to a Championship side, got promoted, and then we would have, he would be valued quite high. Obviously, he's English for starters, and they're always worth a lot more money. Let's not beat around the bush, and we would have all the buying power in that, and we could demand quite a high fee. And if he's performing at that level, you'd imagine that teams would pay for him. But then on the flip side, if he's performing at that level, Fulham might go, hang on, well, we're keeping hold of him because he's clearly good enough to play for us. Just looking through if there's
10 minutes left of this window. 10 minutes left of the window. We're probably going to go just past 11 o'clock, and then we'll call it a day. It looks like Broja is going to be the only one in, which is it's fine. It's what we needed, basically, another striker. And this is the thing, like we've been here before, where actually you do realise that the negotiation skills of Fulham is very good. We've got, obviously, we talked about it earlier with Farrell, like 50 million was what was quoted. Obviously, no one's going to pay that, yeah. So then you think of alternatives. Well, we'll loan him. We want a £5 million loan fee. Or in fact, Chelsea lowered their demands maybe to like 35 million for Broja. We said, no, we want to loan him. Okay, £5 million loan fee. We said, no, that's too much. £3 million loan fee. Still too much. 750k loan fee rising to 4. Okay, we'll agree on that. Oh, actually, if he makes 10 appearances, you don't have to pay a penny. Or we don't. Oh, how about if he makes 10 appearances, we don't pay a penny? Okay, that sounds reasonable. We'll shake on that. Like, there are layers to the negotiation that we've actually managed to get this from a £50 million player, apparently, down to basically, I think we'll get him on a free now because I think he'll play 10 games. I think he will.
Yeah, especially when you consider the fact that obviously Raul Jimenez is going to be out for a few weeks. That's going to help bump it up. And yeah, I mean, even if it's not a free, it will be the next kind of stage down, which is 725,000, which is fine for
peanuts.
It's fine for a loan. I mean, is it fine in terms of long term? Not particularly, but it's a stopgap. And I mean, I don't really want us to sign stopgaps, but that's kind of what the January transfer window is all about, to be perfectly honest with you. It's very difficult to find long-term solutions because people are more reluctant to sell, and if they are going to sell, it's higher value for players. So you kind of stopgaps, and then in the summer is when you normally spend big, which we've already gone through the big summer.
How do you feel about having a Serbian striker and then replacing him with a Albanian striker?
I'm not too clued up on the politics side of things, so I think it's best
that's fair.
I stay out of that one. But I'm much more interested on if they're going to perform on the pitch, to be perfectly honest with you. Do I think he's going to perform like the Serbian? Probably not. Actually, in fact, definitely not. But as long as he does a job, then I'm happy. What were you gasping at the phone out there? Was it anything exciting?
Nothing Fulham. It was John Percy, Leicester City and Inter Milan midfielder. Stefano Sensi deal is off. How are Leicester managing to spend that sort of money in the Championship? Well, I'm sure it all sort of works itself out. There's a comment here from David Paul, which has caught my attention. João Palhinha's wife started college in London this winter per Tim Ream's podcast. No one mentions that it's a good sign that his family might want to stay in London. Yes, that's an interesting point, to be fair. That means that a team like Arsenal might sniff around for him, I suppose. But there is this like general consensus that like Palhinha is going to be off in the summer, and we've all sort of like accepted that. But there is a chance that he doesn't go in the summer and he does stay. But I would, given the fact he went on the Fulham fix and he basically said like he wants to play at a high level, but he respects the contract. He respects like where he is. He's going to give his all. that for me was enough for me to be like, look, if you leave, then fair play. You've given us 2 years of good service. But Jack, he might stay. He might stay.
I would absolutely love it if Pellegrini stayed. Obviously, he's been absolutely fantastic to Fulham. I don't think he will, if I'm being brutally honest with you. I don't think he will, and I think we'll be able to get a good fee for him. I'm just very glad that given the... Stop making me think that stuff has happened, because that's definitely it's definitely a Harrogate Town loan deal that's come through on the final minute.
Coventry is signing Ephraim Mason-Clark from Peterborough, and I think that's an incredible signing.
Back to the Pellegrini. I think Pellegrini will leave. But I am, very grateful, given that everything happened in the summer window. It all kind of fell through with Bayern. His professionalism toward the club has been second to none. And if he does go, when he does go, has not done himself a disservice to Fulham, and he can leave, with his head held high, and Fulham fans can be very, very proud of him. I wonder how Vinicius to Galatasaray is going, is one of the questions. As of right now, it's still the latest tweet was the one that was kind of put out earlier, where an agreement has been made between the two.
The Turkish window is still open for another few days, or at least a week. So that's one that doesn't have to be decided. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's not like that's up against any time. And to be fair, if we do get in Broja, the problem is if we get in Broja and we have Muniz as a backup with Raul injured, I don't think selling Vinicius is a good idea, because what if one of those got injured? Then we'd be really stuck. We'd be trying to play like Willian up front. Or Harry Wilson, or God forbid Pereira.
I don't know. I don't know if it's smart to have 4 strikers on the books. I think we do need to get rid of one, and Vinicius makes the most sense here after his last cameo against Rotherham, which was exactly that. My exact reaction to the Carlos Vinicius cameo was that.
Long day.
Yeah.
Why does deadline day feel like it feels like it's every day? It feels like deadline day is every day.
Yeah, you must feel shattered as you've spent the entire day dealing with deadline day.
Yeah, I think my eyes have gone square from looking at screens too much. 3 minutes till the deadline, and then we'll wrap it up in 2 or 3 minutes and get out of here, guys. Your support on the channel is exemplary. It's beautiful. It's brilliant. Oh, I forgot to even say, I'll try and plug it now. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. Last time I checked, which was this morning, we were 180 people away from 6,000 subscribers. Now, if you have watched the darts tonight, you like the number 180. So why don't you try and whittle us down so we can finish on a double and get down to 6,000 subscribers? If you've enjoyed the stream, if you've enjoyed engaging with us tonight, this is the sort of thing we do on deadline day. We also do a weekly show called the Jack and Joe Show, or the Jack and Jack Show. If Joe Sansom is unavailable, Jack Stradley fills in, and we talk Fulham. We preview the previous game, we look ahead to the next game, and we usually have a bit of a giggle while doing it and can't really keep our composure, which makes it ultra unprofessional, but also really fun. Max Brighton, that is a superb reference to last year's deadline day with the YMCA comment. I seem to remember my brother was in this very room. I was upstairs, and he was trying to make me laugh by singing the YMCA, which is obviously really, really horrible, terrible humor. But at the time, it was making me chuckle because I can't remember where I was going with this. We're a minute away, Jack. How would you like to see out the deadline?
I'd like a last minute deal sheet for anyone, just for a bit of excitement, just to talk about. Someone's put last minute deal sheet for Danny Ings and Dwight Gale. Fun fact.
Talking of Dwight Gale, terminated his contract at Stoke, is now a free agent. Get it down.
Get him in. Get him in. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing much to really say. On Danny Ings, I'll leave everyone with a football theory. Danny Ings only ever scores when it's making his team go 1-0 up. If you look through, that's when he only ever scores when they go 1-0 up. That's a bit of trivia for you to wrap the stream up.
Wow, Callum Styles is signed for Sunderland. It's all happening. And Rinomota signed for Rotherham. I mean, that is a lot of EFL deals get done on the last day, and they really blow my mind. That is it. The window is now shut. Broja will be announced, I'm sure, between the hours of 11 and 12. I'd be amazed if it was anything later than that. You don't have to stay up for it, but I wonder what the pun will be if we do a pun. Jack, do we recap or we just call it a night?
I don't think there's anything to particularly recap on. Obviously, one incoming in Armando Broja, which we've kind of gone over and over. Outgoings, no one really of note. The only one that looks like it's going to happen is Carlos Vinicius to Galatasaray. Loan with an option to buy. Apart from that, it's youth players, majority of them on loan, apart from Ollie O'Neill, who's gone to Leyton Orient, and Idris Olateo, who's gone to Bromley.
Yes.
What a window. What a window.
It's slammed shut. The window is over. And we have 16 more games. Oh, Norwich have signed a player. We have 16 more games to go until this season ends. It's, you know, thing is, like, you obviously feel a little bit upset now with, like, we're out the cups and stuff, but we'd have dreamt of this sort of stuff. Hand up.
There's a tweet from Romano.
Don't.
No. Rayan Cherki to Fulham deal was never concrete or close, and it won't happen. So it was never near. Basically, it was so. He was
like
never
the player,
near
linked to the player, never signed the player. God, life's relentless.
Life's relentless.
Oh dear. Guys, I think we'll end it there. Actually, if you've enjoyed this channel stream, then subscribe to the Fulhamish YouTube channel. I will be very grateful, as will Jack, as will Joe, as will Sammy, as will all the team. And thanks also to Farrell for coming on. And I know my internet was pretty much down the whole time he was here, but I very much enjoyed his Vincent company. Talking of Vincent company, we play Burnley on Saturday, 3 p.m. kickoff. If you're not there, then maybe go to a Green King pub and watch like Soccer Saturday while getting these score updates from the game. Jack, for the first time in the non-transfer window, thanks so much for being here.
Cheers for having me. I've enjoyed it. Thanks everyone for listening to us spout absolute rubbish for the last 95 minutes. As a whole game of football, people have sat through us talking there.
Yeah, honestly, like my head was like scrambled for like half of it. Just because it's just been a chaotic day. It always is for deadline day. But Fulham have brought in Armando Broja on loan from Walham Green for the rest of the season. No fee paid if he makes 10 plus appearances. That is pretty sneaky from Tony Khan. But watch yourself, because the summer's a big summer and we need to get some deals in earlier. Thanks so much for watching. Come on, Fulham. And for goodness sake, come on, Fulham.